3 minutes after 2 for folks to come on. We have a Zoom, so make sure you get into that if you want to be on screen. And here we go. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to January's Reproductive Justice Training with Sister Song Kentucky, Black Lives Matter Louisville. And we are so freaking excited for today that I put on eye makeup, but also that we have Fairen with us from Love Thy Belly. We had like this what do you call it, a staff meeting, and people were just like, oh, somebody told me about them. I was just like, come on. And they from Atlanta. And we have V with us from Cup of V. We're going to be talking about a very, very serious issue with different types of background tones, body freedom, decriminalization, that versus legalization, just the same way we talk about what's happening with marijuana as well. But what does it mean when we're talking about sex work? And why is there still this stigma around there? We've got a snippet and a video from NeNe. We'll be doing the activity. This is a training, so we will be here for some hours. Come back to the YouTube if you want to be able to find the video again, but we are showing on Facebook and Twitter in respective spaces. So let's get into it. Again, my name is Chanelle Helm. I am an organizer with Black Lives Matter Louisville, but I am the state court consultant with Sister Song. It is a Black-led reproductive justice national organization throwing down since the 80s, bringing reproductive justice to the forefront of our reproductive rights fights. Kabira?
Greetings, family. How is everybody? I am Kabira Kenny. I work with BLM and Sister Song as an organizer, and I just want to open up the space. We're here to talk about sex today, right? All those taboo things. I'm so excited to conversate with you all about this. But first, let me share my screen. Share screen. I don't need to see these tips. They always give you tips, like don't know how to click on things. All right. Can everybody see that? Can y'all see that?
Let me see. Press it again. Oh, I have to add it to the stream.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as Chanelle said, we're here to talk about sex work today with our lovely Fairen and our beloved V. So we're going to talk about body positivity and talk about OnlyFans and these other platforms. I heard that Cardi B has this new sex platform out, so excited to talk about that. I just wanted to stage my space and give you all some of this loveliness on my end today. Look, I'm not moving it right. Well, let's get grounded. We're just going to move into it. First, I want you to find a comfortable space. If you're sitting in a chair, make sure your feet are not crossed. Make sure they're touching the ground parallel. Just take some nice deep breaths. If you're sitting on your floor, you're sitting on your bed, you can sit in the easy pose, which is crossing your legs. Nice, and rest your wrists on your knees or just on your thighs, making sure your body is nice and aligned and straight. We're going to take some intentional deep breaths here. You can look at this visual to give you an idea, breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. Being intentional about that breath coming in the body and pushing it back out of your body. Nice and slow. deep with intention. Embracing the unknown, embracing the present. Feeling your breath in this space where you are at this present moment. Taking these nice deep breaths in. If you have your eyes closed, I want you to open your eyes. And I want you to look around your space. What are 5 things that you see in this present moment? I see this color wheel coming in and out as I take my breath into the body and out of the body. Are you near a window? Is the sunlight coming in? Do you have a pet? And is your pet near you? Can you see them? Be mindful of your hands. Be mindful of the tension in your body. Once you have identified 5 things around you in this present moment, I want you to identify 4 things that you can touch around you. Some of those things might be some of those 5 things that you see. This could be touching your pets. Do you have a drink near you? Can you grab your glass? Once you've touched those 4 things, now we're going to listen to 3 things that we can hear. One of those things is the music, right? What else can you hear in your space? You hear my voice. I have my heater playing in the background, playing like it's a music instrument. You might be able to hear that. Moving on to our sense of smell. What is 2 things that you smell in this present moment? What is tingling those nostrils of yours? I wish you all could smell the sage that I burnt. But what is in your space? What is present with you right now? And then last but not least, what is one thing that you can taste? Did you eat or drink something before coming on this live? Are you drinking something now? Do you still have a taste from something that you had earlier today? Be mindful and in tune with your senses. Still feeling the body. Give me a few last breaths in and out. Shake it off.
Lord, that's that West End internet. I'm just gonna tell you. That's
You
what
know,
it
you
is.
know that's what it is.
That's what it is. Let me see if I can go ahead and get our folks on Zoom up here.
Instead of instead of
We can go.
it's the
There she
intentional
go. That's what,
environmental racism is what it is.
that's what
Am
it
I not
is.
allowed to say that? Oh, I should
It's the
have asked
West
y'all
End
what I
and
can't,
it's the
can't
West End
say
Wi-Fi.
prior to.
We all right. We all right.
I'm back, y'all. I'm back.
I just be saying lots of stuff. So
My apologies, but to bring it back real quick, I hope you are grounded and you are relaxed and you have filled your body with love and open-mindedness. If you are on this live, I want you to have open minds, clear minds, open hearts. Give yourself love as well as giving these beautiful light beings love that are here to present to you today. Where are we moving to now, Chanelle? Who's next?
I am getting ready to let me share my screen so I can make sure our folks are on here. I wonder how I can move them to this other side. I don't want them to be full screen. I'm trying to move them around. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. That's cute. And we'll just pop everybody in like that. So, okay, I got it. I figured it out. We are here really representing what it means to elevate what's going on in the reproductive justice movement at this moment. Um, Having any type of BIPOC, that is Black, Indigenous, and or POC-led space around what reproductive justice means is justice for Black, Indigenous, and BIPOC women, as well as folks who are transgender, as well as folks who are non-binary, and then folks who sit in a different part of the spectrum. Many times we are hearing places where everyone is not represented, but we want to make sure that those are the topics that we talk about in this space, as well as things that are outside of the spectrum of what folks think reproductive justice actually is. Most times people either sit with reproductive health care or we're sitting with reproductive rights, especially when it comes up with legislation, these abortion bills. But reproductive justice is way more than that. Our elders and our founders began this work around 4 tenets that detail us around whether we want to have children, whether we don't want to have children, how and when and why we want to raise our families in any type of capacity. And that's reproductive justice. And how we get that and how we do that are the means to that type of production, correct? So we want to talk today about sex work. And the reason why we're talking about that is because it's 2022 and it's still demonized, and that's not cute. Our folks are really out here performing and presenting some very healthy ways and ways that we can, as a community, support healthy ways and get those things done. But also, it's criminalized in a lot of places. I don't think a lot of folks realized at the beginning of the pandemic, they shut down a lot of areas to where sex workers and other folks weren't even allowed to practice their craft, or for folks who enjoy sex work, legal and healthy sex work, consensual sex work, were prosecuted very much heavily. And so those are things that we want to exemplify, especially when we talk about what decriminalization looks like. I'm trying to get these screens together. And so today we have Fairen Kia with us with Love That Belly, all about body freedom and what that means. And I think that's an important part around like even getting to the decolonization around sex work and what it means for somebody to be able to venture into sex work with their body and somebody consensually take part in that as well, right? And so we have V with us as well, who will be talking about that journey into body freedom as well, but who is doing the actual work around that, and what are some of the terms we need to pick up. So we have some notes. We have a Zoom. If you want to join a Zoom, please let us know. Do it in the comments because we can see that right away, and then we'll get you hooked up onto there. V.
Can you all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi, I'm V. Just wanting to introduce myself. I'm just a creature. So we are advocating for decriminalization of sex work. And I think that typically is something a lot of people are not really informed about. We have to differentiate between decriminalization and legalization. We have to advocate for the decarceration of those affected by the sex trade and the related offenses, which harm people who are voluntarily partaking in sexual labor. There are consensual adults who take part in sexual activities, and the government interference does not need to be present. Legalizing is a term that we don't like to use. Legalizing means there's going to be more regulation to monitor folks, to control who can and cannot do this work. We are basically depending on a current system, which we all know is already harmful and oppressive. It is already difficult for people to find housing legally. So to have a job that is criminalized, to have work that is criminalized, and means that people who cannot work through this system, people who are not approved in the system, they can't be a part of this work. That goes to people who can't pass background checks, people who are not citizens, just things that are just gatekept from a lot of people. There's also a direction of the power being taken away from the individual and back to the government. It takes away our autonomy, and our autonomy is sacred. Our autonomy is probably one of the most powerful things that we could have. The government does not want us to have that. So this would also pull away focus from the safety and security that we need for sex workers, while also pulling away focus from catching those engaging in violent and forced crimes. What I really wanted to talk about is FOSTA and SESTA. These are the Fight Against Sex Trafficking Act, or it's basically a shame-fueled act driven by the need to shut down our autonomy through the control and regulation of the web. And so when FOSTA and SESTA was passed, there's a specific term, what's the word that they use in, here it is, the long title, a bill to amend the Communications Act of 1934 to clarify that Section 230 of such act does not prohibit the enforcement against providers and users for interactive computer services of federal, state, criminal, and civil law relating to sexual exploitation of children or sex trafficking, and for other purposes. And what's really interesting about FOSTA SESTA is that it actually does not do much for sex trafficking or for child trafficking. What it does is puts sex workers behind bars. It limits our access to our clients and gives power to media platforms to monitor our very own personal messages, which a lot of people do not realize. Platforms like Instagram do monitor messages. They have algorithms that catch specific images, specific words, and they are driven towards sexually oriented businesses and sex workers. Allowing media platforms in this act to control the spread of information while being the umbrella to sexism, racism, and homophobia. An impact of FOSTA SESTA was taking away resources that allowed sex workers to be able to share information about dangerous clients, and had forced sex workers into situations that enabled clients to ask for a lot more for a lot less. And I would like to read this excerpt from The Sanctity of Whores. This is by Charlie Shee. So Charlie Shee had become vocal about FOSTA SESTA, which was passed in 2018 on their Instagram, and ended up having their entire page shut down. In itself, being deplatformed might seem innocent. So many times I've heard civilians say things like, "Why don't you just use or create another platform?" As if that would fix the problem. Which is in itself situation our existence, our plain and simple existence. Showing a clear bias against a group of marginalized people is the real problem. Losing access to your friends, community, support system, and work for so many has a lot more repercussions than what could simply be perceived as being denied access to a meme-filled web space. One thing is for certain, I got shut down for talking about a law that is active right now, for elaborating about the truth. If information gets shut down, what's next? In what world is it okay for our account to be shut down because of flesh and truth? A prudish totalitarian one, that's for sure. If only the algorithm was as efficient at catching sexual harassment and racism as it is a nipple. The FOSTA SESTA deplatforming has caused people to have to search for spaces, for resources that are harder to maintain, and for basically putting people out on the street to be able to find work. So when we talk about decriminalization, we're really talking about so many things that encompasses, and it provides safe spaces for people to practice sex work. It provides resources for sex workers who feel that they do not have community, who feel that they do not have security. I do want to note that there are limitations. There are limitations that result of this act, such as our ability to grow, expand, and be successful in our work while feeling safe and secure. What that means to me, for instance, is that this conversation that we are having right now, if we had it on Instagram, it would not go so far. This might be taken down. We might have our entire platforms shut down. So a lot of people don't realize that impact to be able to talk about your work and be shut down for it when you're voluntarily participating in it. It's unfortunate, and it's very difficult to be able to feel that you don't have power in something like that when this work is so empowering to begin with. Sex work is real work, and it's time to treat it that way. Decriminalization would allow sex workers to maintain their livelihood without fear of violence or arrest and access to health care to protect themselves. And this is from the American Civil Liberties Union. So a Q&A to protect the human rights of sex workers. Why does Amnesty International need a policy to protect the human rights of sex workers? Because of sex workers are at a high risk of human rights abuses in many countries around the world. Our policies outline what governments should do better to protect them. We are at risk of a whole host of human rights abuses, including rape, violence, trafficking, extortion, arbitrary arrest and detention, forced eviction from their homes, harassment, discrimination, exclusion from health services, forced HIV testing, lack of legal redress, Amnesty International policy and state obligations to respect, protect. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot. Okay. I don't know if it cut off over there, but we do want to note that, yes, there are some places that do have decriminalized sex work in the United States. There is an endeavor through big cities like New York. Portland has incredible community of sex workers, and they are constantly working at pushing for decriminalization. There are many sex workers who have actually collected data that shows that sex trafficking has not been prevented or gotten better in any way, shape, or form since FOSTA SESTA. And not to throw out that the police aren't helpful here, but the police are pretty much not helpful in these situations. Taking advantage of sex workers is pretty easy when you have it as a criminalized work. And it tends to put people behind bars, and it tends to put people in dangerous positions in moments of desperation, needing to survive. So yeah, I just wanted to, I think that wraps up my part. Is there anything else that I can add here? No, I could talk all day, so.
My mic is always muted. No, that was awesome. And I'm glad that we had that going into bits of discussion and things as well, because I don't think people understand how heavy sexualized work is very much criminalized. When we're looking at, what was it, maybe 2016? I know that there was a time in 2014, and I can keep going back and back, all the regulations that have continued to take place around sex work as if it's, trying to bomb another country. But we're absolutely looking at how people and how our government is trying to regulate what we do with our bodies and how we share our bodies with folks. At no time are these things synonymous with sex trafficking. That is a crime and it is illegal. It's unconsensual sex, and it's also kidnapping of folks to perform sexual acts. We are talking about sex work, and this is folks who have taken it as their occupation. In some fashion or form. It is not always intercourse. I think that's one of the biggest things and misconceptions around sex work is people only think about folks who are having intercourse with someone else or performing some other type of sexualized act on somebody. And sex work can be many things. There's different types of sexualized body work. There's different types of fetishes. There's also different types of role playing that also is sex work. We remember HBO, what was that? What was it called?
Real sex.
Come on, Real Sex. Yes. We were supposed to be watching it. We was watching it, but
And listen, I didn't know anything at the time, so that's what I was using to learn things.
Her.
yes.
Yeah.
I had to stop. I'm going to name it. I had to stop when the people was doing the animal stuff. I love y'all. That's y'all's thing.
That's y'all's thing. Yeah.
But those are different types of way that sex workers work, right? And so we're seeing places and we're seeing different activities get a different type of treatment than people who have been doing very much historic sex work. And so be clear about what you can do on the internet too. I think that's a big thing that we don't talk much about, how we are being policed and surveilled when we are utilizing online platforms. I know that folks got thrown out of Craigslist. We just heard about Instagram policing, that's Facebook policing, and Metaverse, whoever these people are. We're also looking at like OnlyFans policing folks. There was a big thing last year where they were getting ready to shut it down. You wouldn't even have an OnlyFans if it wasn't for sex work. You wouldn't have a Craigslist. You wouldn't have many of your online platforms, even some of these money apps, if it was not for sex work. I think most of our government sectors wouldn't exist if it wasn't for sex work. So we're looking at a very hyper stigmatized area of our society that definitely does need to be changed. Please ignore the people in the comments. You know how it is. So next we have Fairen, so we can go into that very much detailed conversation around body positivity, and then we will get to questions and a comment. I see y'all.
Everybody, just again, another brief introduction. My name is Fairen Kia. I'm a self-published author of the book Dear Fat Girls When Love Wasn't Enough. And all of my, I guess, life's work, really, because this is my lived experience, is creating spaces for fat and large bodies to be represented, as well as understood in many different forms and facets. So Love Thy Belly creates lots of different multimedia streams. So whether that's photography, videography, fashion, art, everything, anything that you would see what we call in fat work a straight body in, we tend to also make sure that fat bodies are represented in that. And that definitely includes in sex work, because a lot of times there's not a lot of representation of fat and large bodies in sex work as a full realm of things. Some people may be familiar with things such as BBW, pornography, or very specific fetishized aspects of sex work. But again, with everything that we do, it's about body freedom and body advocacy. Before we go into anything, I do want to talk a little bit about what those terms mean. Body freedom and body advocacy are terms that I guess I'd say like coined by Love Thy Belly, but obviously they're words that exist. But for the most part, body freedom itself means the expression of one's full self through various forms of art, such as food, clothing, hair, makeup, all of those things. And body advocacy is the advocating and the fighting for people to experience their body in an autonomous way. So autonomy being without the ideals and the societal expectations of other people. So this is a very interactive and very intimate subject, because we are going to be talking about your body and everyone's bodies as well. So if at any time this is a conversation that gets uncomfortable, you are more than welcome to excuse yourself from that conversation, because some of the questions that I have and some of the topics that I generally bring up can be extremely difficult for people to grasp onto and to feel okay with being a part of. And that's okay, because one thing about your body is that it's yours and it's not going anywhere. And the only time it's going to change is if you change it. So it's really hard to face yourself often. And that's what a lot of body image work is. It's facing yourself. And so if anytime it does get difficult, I completely will understand that. So to quote myself, actually from my book, Dear Fat Girls, When Love Wasn't Enough, that you can find on my website, one of my favorite quotes is that, and I say this to myself as an affirmation as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. But one thing I want to leave with you all, and I want you all to be thinking about as we continue through this entire training, is I want you all to remember that you are human. First and foremost, you are a human being. And there are going to be times where other people around you forget that you are a human being and they will not treat you as one. But that is not something that you get to forget for yourself. So remember, you are human. Those around you will forget, but you do not have to. And sometimes the stuff gets a little heavy, but I'm also really funny, so I also might make jokes too. So it might get heavy, and then if it gets too heavy for me, then I'll start making jokes because that's what I do whenever I get uncomfortable. But one of the first question that I have for you is, what do you love the most? And I'll give everybody just a couple of seconds to think about that. And Chanelle and Kabira, if anybody says something in the comments, you're more than welcome to share that. But the question is, what do you love the most?
We are having some Zoom technical difficulties, but we're trying to get that together. Let me see if anybody has commented anywhere else. You know, Fairen, I asked this question in my Sacred Circle Sisters journal entry. I ask it often. I always ask, what is that feature that you love of yourself the most? And then what is that feature that you don't like as much? And then the homework assignment is go nurture that feature. Go do mirror work and look at yourself and that feature that you do not like. Speak love to that feature. Thank you for asking that.
So for those of you who were able to participate in that question in that moment, and for those of you who are watching and you're not able to actually comment, I just want you to think, how long did it take you to say yourself? When I asked you, what do you love the most? How long did it take you to say myself? And a lot of this work gets to be so difficult because we don't often think about loving ourselves. Because like I said earlier, you are faced with yourself every single day. So that means everything that you in your head say is a flaw, or everything that you in your head say is an imperfection, you have to experience that every single day. And it gets harder and harder and harder because you can't not face those things. So Kabira had mentioned that, and it's funny that you mentioned that because we do that in Love Thy Belly as well, is we ask, what is your favorite physical feature of yourself? So if you were to just stand there and just think about, what is it that you love about your body the most? What is your favorite physical feature of yourself?
We do have people moving from the Zoom over. We try to be technical savvy. That didn't work.
Come on. We did it.
But what I think I love the most as a physical feature, it took me a really long time to have an insecurity about my physical features. I think like the typical or the normal insecurities as a femme person is always, are the boobies growing right? What's my butt doing? What's these hips doing? Do I got a gut? You know, do I need to be all the way flat? You know, so those are the things that always came up, of course, as a teen. But it wasn't until I was 22, and I remember this because it took me so long to get dressed one day, and it wasn't my typical taking long to get dressed. All my friends know when we go out to the club, I'm the last one to begin anywhere. But it was taking me so long because I didn't like the way that I looked in my clothes. And so I had to stop for a second, and I was just like, oh, wait a minute. I'm having an insecurity. What does this really mean? What is this looking like to myself? And how am I getting ready to venture on this road what is this role going to look like for me? And so in that moment, I was like, put on something. I see those pictures, and now, you know, because I have that insecurity, they look kind of weird, but I'm also just like, you know, leave it alone, because they're my insecurities. And so how do I foster them? How do I take care of them so that I can make sure I face the day? That's a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you also have been able to acknowledge that there was a time where you didn't have these insecurities about yourself. And that's so true for so many people. For the most part, we don't just come out and just like think all of these negative thoughts about ourselves. It's the environment that we live in. It's the society that we have to try and survive in. All of the ideas of negativity that you have about yourself, these were not things that you created for yourself. These were things that were forced upon you by loved ones, and a lot of that could be unintentional, right? Like unintentionally, our loved ones might say things to us about our bodies and make comments about our bodies that in their head, it's coming from a place of love. But when it's received from them, that's not loving. It's not loving to tell someone that you love that something about their body is wrong in any form or fashion. And I do want to say that a lot of times when people are speaking negatively about your body, it is generally a projection of what they see about themselves that they do not like. And so generally, when someone says something negative to your body, it is because that's speaking to this voice that they have in their own head about themselves. And then another question that I have is, what is a non-physical feature about yourself that's your favorite, or that you love, or that you enjoy? Because a lot of times we separate the body from the mind, but those things work together. When you are creating a space for you to work on your own mental health and your own physical health and your overall wellness, you're creating a space for you to feel empowered and feel better overall as a person. So then what is your favorite non-physical feature about yourself? And B, you can answer that if you want to.
You say my physical wait, say that again.
Your favorite non-physical feature or non-physical feature about yourself that you love.
That I love. Oh my. My voice. And not physically, but like my voice.
I also love your voice.
Thank you. You know, it's funny because like you give people so much voice. Like for real. Like I was talking to, when we got onto a call like a few weeks ago about this, right? And I was like, you all know that like Fairen's like body positive movement is kind of like a big part of sex work, right? Because it's like for me, I embraced my body first, and then I was able to like really embrace like what makes me really happy, right? Gives me pleasure, and that's because my body gives me pleasure, you know? And like that was all mindset too, you know? So yeah, my voice.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that about your body giving you pleasure. Oh, yes, I love that.
I love that. When you said, what do I love about my body? I'm like, all of it. Like, you know, before I used to
look at my body.
I used to hate all of it. So like now I love it. That's insane, right? Like to be convinced that your body and like you aren't pretty or like worthy, you know?
Ooh, I see some people saying things. I like that. I don't know how that happened. Listen, I'm sorry. I don't really do a lot of technology stuff. I'm very new to it. And so like people are jumping in saying things. Okay. Yes, all these non-physical features, these are amazing. And you know what? People tend to find it easier to say the non-physical features that they love about themselves. It's just it rolls off so much easier. And so one thing that I try to reiterate often is, as much as you can talk about your resilience and your determination and your ability to just keep going, also, what is it about your body that's important? And what is it about your body that you can love? Because this temple that you have is the only one you're ever going to have. So everything that you put into it, every image you consume, any words you consume, any music that you consume, that is so important because it stays inside of your body, right? So all of those negative images, they will stay in you if you don't work to push them out, if you don't consume more positive images, if you don't listen to more positive things about your body, anything that you are taking in with your eyes, with your senses that Kabira had mentioned earlier, and we worked through, anything that you are taking in with your senses is something that stays inside of you. So I don't know if anybody is aware of the 5 love languages. It's one of those like little tests that you can take, but there is some science behind it. I don't know the science behind it, but there is science behind it. If you wanted to take it, the app is called Love Nudge, and you are welcome to use that app. This is not something that I created. I have nothing to do with this. However, the material behind what the 5 love languages are applicable to what we do within our body image work at Love Thy Belly. So there's 5 of them. The first being physical touch, and then quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And the way we apply them in terms of body advocacy and body freedom is the first physical touch yourself. Like right now, find some aspect of your body and just go ahead and touch it. Just whatever you want to. V's already doing it. Just touch yourself. Physical touch and loving your body in a physical way creates a space for you to be closer to your body, especially for those of us who spend a lot of time trying to separate ourselves from our body and from the image that we have of our body. You have to sit with your body and touch your body. And that can be masturbation, or that can just be maybe you touch your hair often, maybe you touch your face, maybe you rub your hands. Some of us who are getting a little bit older in life, we got to rub them knees sometimes because it's getting a little rough out here with this cold weather, okay? But physical touch, showing that physical adoration for your body. And then quality time, spending time with your body. Just sitting with your body. Feeling grounded, as Kabira showed us how to do earlier, feeling grounded in your body. Just being with yourself, being with your body. Words of affirmation. Oh, my favorite. I have my trusty, I have a light over here, a ring light over here, so I'm going to try not to blind y'all. But I have my trusty mirror right here. Where is it? How do I do this? There we go. Yeah. Oh, y'all got to see all my goods and stuff, my man. But mirror work. This is the words of affirmation aspect of creating a sense of self within your body. So words of affirmation are the things that we say to ourselves that are affirming and positive to ourself, our body, and others when we say them. But the way you do mirror work is you look in the mirror and you stand in that mirror and you stare at yourself in that mirror. And it might be very, very uncomfortable at first. It might be difficult. I spent years of my life avoiding mirrors. I actually would like tape messages, like, and they're positive, inspiring messages, but I would tape messages all over my entire mirror and I could only see my face in them. Or I wouldn't look in full body mirrors. I only looked in mirrors where I could just see like from my shoulders up. So this one was something that was very hard for me to do. And I've been told that it is something that's very difficult, but you look at yourself in the mirror and you pick one thing or 2 things or whatever, wherever you need to start, pick one physical attribute of your body and tell it that you love it. And then tell it why you love it. And that can be anything. I can give you an example. One thing that I say to my legs all the time, because it took me a very long time to learn to accept and love my very thick, voluptuous thighs, is I say, I love you, thighs, for continuing to take me to every journey that you've done. And I say to my arms, I love you, arms, because my arms are big and they're flabby and they have all of this fat and muscle. And I tell my arms, I love you, fat arms, because you carry me and you carry all of the things that I have to shoulder. And you just pick a different part of your body and you say something, you say to that piece of your body, say to that part of your body that you love it and why you love it. Affirm that aspect of your body. And then in mirror work, you can also say I am affirmations. I am strong. I am brilliant. I am learning. I am growing. Mirror work can be specific to your body, but then also it can be specific to what it is that you can do for your mind and for your brain. Acts of service. Do something nice for your body. Buy it things if that's what it wants. Take care of it. Moisturize it. Exfoliate it. Especially moisturizing it. Okay? Like, I didn't realize how important it was to moisturize your body in the wintertime. But baby, when I tell you this winter, I don't know what oh man winter is doing, but it is just tearing my skin up. Moisturize your body, but service your body, right? And that can still be that act of service can also be in that piece of that physical touch of masturbating or touching your body or being close with your body. Service your body. And then lastly, receiving gifts. Like I mentioned, buy your body things, right? If you have access to certain things, buy it things that makes it feel good. And that could be food. If there is a food item that you truly enjoy, or as some of you may have saw my little indulgent area, whatever's there is what's there. I don't know what y'all saw and what y'all didn't see, but what's there is what's there. Okay. So indulge in things. Give your body gifts that feel good for it. Listen, what was there is what was there.
Do you hear me? And then I'm trying to be all cute with it. But yes, all of the places, all of the areas.
All of the places, especially them cankles.
Touch it. Moisturize it. Listen, something I always, especially now since we do, we all should have been washing our hands to begin with. And I get that. I understand that. But since everyone is now more cognizant they're washing their hands more, moisturize your hands, honey, because it's rough out here.
Use some chapstick.
Okay.
Petroleum jelly.
Man.
It's old. It will always be there. It might last a long time. Please use it.
I love Vaseline or / petroleum jelly. I absolutely do. So those were the 5 love languages, but those are also the 5 ways that you can specifically give love to yourself and to your body. So this important part, affirmations. Oh boy, that is hard. It is hard to say those good things to yourself. It is hard to say those good things to your body, because I bet you all say good, amazing things to people outside of you and praise people outside of you all the time. You probably do it so much that you don't even notice that you're doing it for other people. But how many times do you praise yourself? How many times do you say to your body, I love you. I am grateful for you. If you can, 5 affirmations that you can say. 5 things that you can say to yourself or to your body. And I want you to repeat those things twice every single day. If you are not ready for mirror work, that's okay. Right? That's something that's really hard to do. So if you're not ready for mirror work, that's fine. But pick 5 things that you can say to yourself and repeat those things twice a day. So even if it's just you're saying those things in the morning to yourself when you first wake up, and then you're saying them again to yourself whenever you have the opportunity to lay down at night or lay down whatever time, right? If we have 3rd shift jobs, 2nd shift jobs, whenever you wake up and whenever you're going to sleep, pick 5 things that you can say to yourself and say those things twice. And for those of you who want to take it up just a little notch, if you're ready for this, tomorrow, I want you to stand fully naked in front of some type of reflective glass, whether that's a mirror or a window, whatever, fully naked, and try some of that mirror work. 3 things about your body that you love. Try some of that. And if you're not there, right? If you're just not there, you can write these affirmations and these positive things on a Post-it note and post those things all around your space. Wherever space you're in, your office, your truck, your car, your wherever you are, whatever you have access to, write the things down on some form of paper and post them up. In my book, Dear Fat Girls When Love Wasn't Enough, we have created Post-its for people who may not be in a space to do that. And so like the goal is that you take those Post-its from Dear Fat Girls and you can post those in places that just to remind yourself of everything that you are capable of doing, everything that you have already come through, right? Because like I said in the beginning, facing yourself is probably one of the hardest things that we can ever do. It's one of those things where because you can't ignore it and it's always going to be there, that you have to just face it. And so we want to put ourselves in a position where facing our body for ourselves is preparing us to face our body for everybody else. Because no matter where we go, no matter what we do, there's always going to be someone that has something to say about you or about your body. So get prepared for this war, because that's what it is. There's a war on your body, and you have to be fully armed and fully prepared for what's coming to you. So create a space for yourself that feels safe for you and for your body. And remind yourself of all the ways that you are amazing and that you are beautiful and that your body has already carried you through so much, and that it's going to continue to carry you through whatever else is being thrown at you. I love each and every one of you for trying and surviving each day and waking up each day. And I'm very grateful for those of you who were able to participate in this training and learning about how important your body is and how important the body itself is, especially within sex work. So learning your own body, learning where you are within yourself, and how you can help aid in everything about sex work and reproductive justice. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Fairen. Y'all. Come on, mirror work and affirmations and what I say in triple S, your sexy is not my sexy. Come on. Thank you so much, Fairen and V. We are about to move into our activity. So if you are at home, if you have crowns, and if you have paper, please go grab it. Oh, I put that white paper up against my face. Y'all see that color from the light? Oh, okay. But yes, we are about to move into our activity. It takes nothing but paper. If you do not have computer paper, any type of paper, find an envelope, something, it don't matter. Find something to color on. We are about to feed our inner child as well as our adult self. So I am going to share my screen really quick. Now I'm going to share my screen, and what I want people to do is if you're on your computer or if you're on your phone, take a screenshot of this or take a picture of it, because we will be showing a video. Chanelle will be sharing her screen, so I won't be able to continue to show my screen. So please take a picture of this. I'm about to share my screen now. All right. Here's what I need you to take a picture of. So in this activity, I'll describe it real quick so people can get their pictures. We will be doing like a 3-layer cake on your paper. I want you to think of your persona. Your persona is what you present to the world, right? Your persona is what you give to others, the way you move in public spaces. Then you look at this color wheel and you see what color, the way you present yourself to the world, what color that is. And you're going to design that however you want to in that color. If you're multiple colors, I actually have an example that I'm going to show you all. Let me grab it real quick. So after I get done sharing my screen, I'll show you all my example. Or no, you all can still see my picture, I think. Those that are on Facebook and on YouTube. So then you'll move to your consciousness, what you feel like your consciousness is. And your shadow self might be hard, especially if you may not have done any shadow work yet. But think of your shadow self as exactly what that is, your dark self, the things that you have pushed down deep into your mental to where you won't remember in that conscious part. So this is your subconscious. This is the things that you hide, that you don't want to show the world. But here is my example. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to give it 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. And I'm not about to leave. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, Kabira. Don't leave the studio. Y'all know that's what I was doing, right? It wasn't the Wi-Fi. I promise it wasn't. It was user error. Okay, so here is mine, and I'm gonna change my light.
I try to help you out. I try to
Okay, so here is mine that I did at a Soul Sisters retreat last summer. So this is my shadow self down here. In my shadow self, I assume that I'm very angry and I have lots of built up tension and animosity towards things in my past. And this is purple. These 2 tiers here represent my consciousness. So if you can tell, all 3 of these are my shadow self. I'm sorry, because I did kind of waves. And then here, this one line by itself is my consciousness. And then these 3 colors up here is my persona. And then also that sky blue is how I present myself to the world. So, yeah, have fun doing this activity. This is something that you can even do with your children. I like to think of body positivity and just loving ourselves as starting as young as when we're actually children. No, we're not going to per se teach our kids sex work, right? But these type of activities and loving yourself and loving thy belly and telling yourself good things and feeding yourself good things need to start at a young age. So do this for yourself. Feed your inner child as you watch this video coming up next, and also do it with your family. Peace.
We actually have a course specifically for elementary, middle school, and high school students.
Yes. So did y'all come on with the plug?
I was gonna ask that.
Was that shameless plug?
Yes. Come on. So y'all heard it here. If y'all not tapping in with Fairen, I don't know what y'all doing. I really don't. But thank you so much for that, Fairen. That is beautiful. I will definitely be tapping in with you with my children. So yeah, let's get into that. What's next?
Fairen, please go ahead and plug that while I get this video set up, because I could really see that really being helpful.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not exactly like the way that I work with adults, right? Like this training itself is very specific because it is just for adults. But the version that I do with elementary, middle school, and high school kids, they vary a little bit based off the activities vary based off of the age level and age range, and especially ability level as well. But the elementary one, we talk a lot about bullying, and we do a lot of play during that one. So we'll do like scenarios, and we'll play those out. And then the middle school one, we talk a little bit about bullying in that one, but we talk a lot about interacting on the internet and how to create safe spaces for yourself and for your friends on the internet. And at the high school level, we get really into creating spaces for yourself and for your friends to feel safe in different environments, right? Like, because a lot of times in high school, you're placed in spaces that you're no longer with maybe your guardian or your adult. And so how do you advocate for yourself in these spaces?
Absolutely.
So let me know.
Absolutely. That's so yummy. Okay, here we go. This is NeNe Lynn with NeNe at Night. Let me go ahead and do a little introduction, because I love introducing NeNe and talking about NeNe. Facebook Louisville about lost their mind when NeNe just got on there and was just like, I like sucking dick. And it was like, wait, what? And so folks who y'all know how people be trying brand new. on some stuff. Try to act all holier than now because they was on Facebook. Well, if your mama's on there, you're gonna have to put some restrictions on you. You didn't want her to see that, or you didn't want to talk about it. That's what the social media is for. Came at NeNe, and NeNe has been able to create this space. She'll talk a bit about that. Create this space where we have some very fruitful conversations around what sex is. She's a sexpert, calling herself a sexologist, but we need to be having these conversations and not just what we're talking about, not just making sure that we feel comfortable in our bodies to explore, not just talking about what it means to fight the fight for. We're going to dive deep into that in a second too, but like just to talk about sex, like people are making it so hard for not only us younger folks. What do we really want to see and what do we really want to talk about? Well, it's already there. It's already a part of our culture. So why are we prohibiting ourselves from actually having a conversation, from actually talking about those things, from actually naming some of the things that you might like because somebody is going to judge you? You got to get over that. Let me let girlfriend go ahead and talk.
While you're doing that, I just want to say I love when people just talk about what they like in life, you know?
Come on.
Share your likes, share your love. The sound's not on.
Because the sex
The
is fun.
sound is really low. Let me check.
You can't mute yourself, Chanelle.
You can hear her?
If you mute yourself, we won't be able to. But you can't mute.
Okay, so let me start it again.
Over a year, and it has been
The video.
As well as a love coach and a relationship coach. I am the host of Meet at Night, which is a sex relationship based podcast, mostly sex because the sex is fun. My podcast has been around for almost 5 years. May 13th, 2022, my baby turned 5. I've been a certified sexpert for a little over a year, and it has been amazing. It is a great journey. I definitely love it. I would not change it for the world. The sexpert journey has opened a lot of doors for me. It has let me see things in new lights. And that's even before I was actually certified. Because through NeNe at Night, doors have opened and I have seen different things. So, I love the sex industry. The sex industry is amazing. It is one of a kind industry. It is so versatile. And the people are so free spirited. There is a lack of judgment, which I love. No judgment zone. I love that people are free to be themselves sexually and non-sexually. It is amazing to be in the industry where literally there are so many genres of sex, so many things you can do in the industry, and then we all come together and support each other as one. What's better than that? Okay, so we're here to talk about sex work. Sex work is typically any time that one is paid for a good or service that is erotic, pleasurable, etc. And I am a non-traditional sex worker, let me say that, simply because I do work in the sex industry. What a sexpert is basically is someone that helps you improve your sex life. I'm not a sex therapist, do not get that confused. I am after the therapy. I come after the therapy when it's time for you to get back on the horse. It's time for you to want to get back out there and improve your sex life, whether it's solo, with the partner, or with some partners. That's where the sexpert part comes in. So that's what puts me in the sex work industry. Not only that, let me not forget to mention my baby, Sensual Pleasures. Sensual Pleasures is my adult toy line that I have had since 2017. And you pay me, I give you pleasure. See how that works? Sex work. You pay me and you get whatever kind of pleasure you need. You're gonna get it from a certain type of toy. I will ask you questions. I will try to figure out what you like, what you're into, and I will try to recommend a toy based off of this. So that's my role as far as a sex worker. I am not actually one that I don't actually get paid to have sex with anyone. Now, if someone want to pay me to watch them have sex, sure, I'll watch you have sex, and then I'll tell you, if you want me to help, because a lot of people have asked that if I can help them that way, I'm willing to do that, to watch and see, pay attention to how your partner reacts, how they don't react, and just give you tips. I'm willing to do that. So that's my role in the sex work industry. Now, sex work it's amazing, like I said before, but it's so looked down upon. A lot of people do not give sex work the credit that it deserves. It deserves a standing ovation. It deserves major credit. And I don't think people realize this. And when I say this is because I'll hear people say, well, you're a prostitute, or here they're calling someone a prostitute, getting paid to have sex. Well, I mean, let's be realistic. I don't have sex for free. What's wrong with getting paid to have sex? Not a thing. What's wrong with fulfilling someone's fantasy and getting paid to do it? Nothing's wrong at all. But as people, we never tend to I don't want to say never. We don't always talk about how porn stars are sex workers. We watch porn all the time. If sex work was gone, why would porn be? So I think that people need to realize that just because it's a different type of sex work doesn't make it less than the other type of sex work. And I use this analogy to show them how sex work is an important part of life. It's a circle of life. Sex work is there. If you take out sex work, hell, some people would be miserable, jumping off cliffs. Yeah, sex work is definitely important. So I know that as sex workers have, even just talking to them, we have stopped people from being an adult. We have helped people through their day. Plenty of men go to the strip club to watch dancers dance. And it makes our night. They like to spend money and watch them dance and be entertained. That's sex work. That's sex work. So plenty of people have done it. And plenty of people do it. So I think we just have to really expand our horizons on what we see as what sex work is. Now, so me as a non-traditional sex worker, I know that I have literally, I've been uncomfortable. I've been put in uncomfortable positions. I don't even take money for intercourse, and I've been uncomfortable. So can you imagine someone who is out here making a living, who is getting paid to do something that's uncomfortable positions that they have been in? And when I say I've been in uncomfortable positions, I've had people in my inbox soliciting me for sex, and I'm like, where did I say that I do that? Respect it. Ask me questions. Ask me if that's something that I do. Don't assume that that's what I do. Don't assume anything. Assuming makes the ass out of you, not me. So don't assume anything. And a lot of times those assumptions come, like I've had someone say, you're a porn star. Well, shit, I didn't know I was a porn star. I didn't know it. Thanks for telling me. I didn't know this was porn. And there's nothing wrong with porn stars, but I'm like, well, shit, porn star, and they talk bad to me. And I'm like, I learned something new every day. Because I sit on a podcast and talk about sex. I'm a porn star now. Well, hell. I've had people assume a lot about me, besides just the whole soliciting sex thing. I've had people assume my sexuality. I often, a lot of people are like, well, you're a sexpert, let's do everything sex. Oh, I have my limits. Look, I have my limits. I have my boundaries. Everyone should have limits and boundaries. This is one thing that even in sex workers don't do everything. You can't expect them to do everything. We all have limits. We all have boundaries. And no matter what arena that we're in. So, but just imagine that I don't actually physically come in contact with you in an intercourse sense. So imagine how someone is, how they have been treated, what they've had to endure, the names that they have been called, the things that people have said about them in general. It's sad. It's definitely sad. But it's even sadder that when you're a person of color, when you're a black person in this industry, it's harder. It's a lot harder. People tend to want to talk down on you, especially when you're a woman. Let's be realistic. As a black woman, a lot of black women have grown up to be no, don't do that. No. Sex? Why are you having so much sex? No. Close your legs. Keep your legs closed. You should not have sex like that. What are you doing? You can't have more than one partner. What are you doing? You've had too much sex. Oh, 10 partners? Oh, you are a hoe. What the hell was you thinking? We have been told this time and time again. So imagine that when we decide to step out of the box, when we decide that we want to stand up and do something different, no matter what the hell anyone else says, how we get treated. So imagine if you grew up in a church. A lot of black people grew up in church. A lot of black people went straight away from church. Let's make that clear. But just imagine you grew up in church. Your parents are, whether they're preachers, deacons, someone who's involved. And all of a sudden, you're doing sex work. Imagine what you have to endure and the things that that your parents are going to say about you or that your parents will disown you. Imagine it. These people are brave souls because we step outside of these boxes every day and we put our lives on display. We are not afraid to tell people what we do. We are not afraid to hear the scrutiny. But just imagine this. The sex industry is a brave industry. These people are definitely brave souls. And people don't respect it. And like I said again, they don't respect black women in the industry at all. I'm just going to be clear. It is harder as a black woman to come up in this industry and get somewhere. I'm not going to lie. It is hard as a black woman. I mean, you already, you got the stripes. It's typical. You're black. You're a woman. Oh, now you want to talk about sex? Now you want to just be on your whole shit? It's hard. It's definitely hard. So where I play a role in that aspect of it is I support all forms of sex work. I help other people understand different parts of sex work. I've had people say many things about them, and I'm like, but whoa, well wait. I protect sex workers because they are a vital part of everyone's day. Without sex work, just imagine what the world would be like. Everybody's not just being able to go out and grab a partner and have sex. Everybody can't just do that. Go figure. Sometimes you have to pay for the sex. Sometimes the sex that you want, you pay for because it's a different type of sex that someone doesn't understand what it is, but this sex worker is willing to give you. Hell, sex workers don't always even have intercourse. Think about it. Financial domination. Some people get paid to stand on your back. Some people get paid to boss you around. You get some form of arousal from it, so it is still considered sexual. Go figure. So I just want more people to respect the art of sex work because sex is an art. The work is hard. Everyone is not made to go work in an office. Everyone's not made to work in a restaurant. Hell, sex work pays hella good. Let's not forget these people are getting paid money. Money. Moolah. People are rich on sex work. And it's their bodies. Let them do as they please. Stop meddling. Stop. Just respect it as a craft. If you see a sex worker, give them a hug. Tell them you appreciate it. Because you never know. That sex worker might have saved someone's life. That sex worker might have just made someone's day. Something as simple as being who they are may have made someone's day. Hell, they may have got paid to have sex and have a conversation. Go figure. Sex work is very important. It is a great part of the world. It is amazing. Um, I definitely think that if you are unfamiliar with all arts and sex work, you should definitely research it. Reach out to someone, talk to them, ask them about it. I mean, hell, you don't even think about it. People, only fans are getting paid, not to even interact with it. They may not be interacting with anyone else. They're interacting with their partner, getting paid to be watched. That's sex work, and that's amazing. I just have sex with my partner and get paid. Well, shit, yeah. Yeah. With it. If they choose that form of sex work, but just, I want more people to respect all forms of sex work. And like I said again, thank the sex workers. Sex work is important. Respect them. Being a Black woman in the sex industry is already hard because we are stepping out of boxes. We are reaching goals. We are being out loud. I mean, hell, I make a post and people are like, what the hell? You know, hell, did she just post that? She said that shit. Simple post. And people are like, what the hell? But I'm like, oh, well, who cares? It's me. I'm not going to change it. If you don't like it, you don't have to be my friend. And a lot of people have respected me as well as, the disrespect. A lot of people have respected me because I don't back down. I do it my way. My mouth is bad. I talk about sex in a vulgar way. I say dick and pussy, and people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, suck the dick. Eat the pussy. It's normal words. So if it's something as simple as that, people are looking at me crazy. Just imagine how the sex worker is being looked at crazy. That's traditional sex worker being looked at crazy. Just imagine the things that a dancer has to endure. The derogatory things that people tend to want to do to dancers because of who they are, because people tend to not want to see them as human when they are human. They are more human than they're more human than you are because you're disrespectful. If you're one of those people, I'm saying. But respect the craft. Just imagine what these sex workers really have to go through. It is if you are a sex worker, I commend you. And when I say sex worker, I mean traditional sex worker because I'm not traditional, but I love you all. I commend you. Keep pushing the word. If you ever need a safe place to go or someone to talk to, I'm here. I can create safe places for anything that we need when it comes to sex, and I will throw my whole name on it. You'll know NeNe and I did that. But I like this topic because I do feel that sex work is judged too harshly. And like I said, people are getting disrespected. So, that being said, thank a sex worker. Look into sex work and all the things that you about to do. Thank one today. And respect, support sex workers. I'm NeNe and Light. You can find me.
Okay. I love having regular, typical people just be able to find their craft and just dive in and show themselves. So out of that, Lord Jesus, out of that, I keep telling everybody else to ignore them, but I have to find the comments and then block these people. Anyway, one of the quotes that I heard in all that NeNe said is like sex work is about being who you are and showing that in personality and in performance. I think there are a few different pieces around like when she was naming, um, you know, they show up and there were some regular words around it, right? It's just what you do. This is just what we say. This is just how it comes, and that is exactly why we put together today's informational and training like that because lots of folks are not comfortable with themselves. That impacts your sexual being. That impacts whether or not you want to perform in sexual situations, but also as a sex worker you have to be able to wear not only your own shield, but a lot of times sex work does dive into performance play. You have to put on another persona so that you can perform sex work. My sex worker name from dancing on to body work was Carmen, etc. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know about the etc. part all the time. Yes, I lied. But but it was cute. That's what the point is, it was cute, and then I was always, look, man, I'm going to my whole, like, what I look like. I always wore like the hair that was kind of like mine because I was comfortable with it. It was some of them wigs I just couldn't do it. I did experiment, the colors and stuff. I love the colors and things, but I don't know. It's just that over round beach ball head of mine. But I would just put on like the little wavy hair, the little,
I'm about to get on you. You keep on talking about your body like that. I'm about to get you.
I know, right?
I'm saying.
But I gotta own it. I already know. The head is too big. I have thought about cutting off the no. So I would wear my little wigs, and it would just be cute. And they'd be like, "What's your name, Carmen?" etc. Like yay, and that's who I am, and that's who I am in that work. And then here, that's totally different. I heard NeNe say about the disrespectful part, and we can dive in there too if we want to, because I know Art had asked that question, and it comes up a lot. So I'm so glad that this is going this way, and you all are here, because people have to break it down to understand that sex work is not sex trafficking. Honey, those are two different things. One is highly illegal. Again, sex trafficking is kidnapping, is abuse, is torture. It is torture, and it is actually selling somebody's human trafficking. So slavery, enslavement, the same way you think about that, that is sex trafficking. That is not having consensual sex with somebody, either for pay or not. And I think a lot of folks misunderstand sex work as that as well. Somebody performing in sex work does not intend or consent to you abusing their body without those consent words, or having you take their likelihood, or I've had folks do that, or try to throw up in somebody's face, which I was thankful for NeNe to say. We give a lot of shame to people who do sex work. And again, we always want to say it's the oldest profession in time, and it really is the oldest profession in time. People could easily venture out somewhere else to take care of themselves. We heard Fairen talk about taking care of your body. How do you want to please your body? And this is the way somebody wants to please their body. I know people feel a certain type of way about people who are married, but I'm also in a position to where, like, if this is taking care of yourself, and then it is helping in some type of way so you can be a better partner to whomever your partner is, whether you're married or not, then that's something, one, you need to discuss with your partner. I do want to say that. I'm not just saying go on and do whatever you want to do. No, you need to respect all partners in your relationships around whether or not you want to partake in sex work, because it can get a little risky.
Coercion.
Thank
Also.
you. Trying to get the word.
I just wanted to say coercion, and I love pretty much everything NeNe said. Just please don't hug me without my consent. That is a big one. Do not hug a sex worker without consent, and don't think that just because we work in this industry, we're always consenting. That is like such a pet peeve for me, because people just start talking about things that I'm like, I'm sorry, did you get permission to talk about this with me? You know what I mean? And like, sex workers talking about their work, that is dangerous and that is scary for us. Like, we're putting ourselves in vulnerable positions all the time. So if somebody is providing you that education, please show appreciation for that. Please make sure that you are respecting their privacy, and please do not say, oh, yeah, her name is this, but she goes by this. Like, no, if her name is like whatever it is, that's the name you're going to use. Like, don't say her real name, her non-sex worker name, and tell everybody where she lived too. And like stuff like that is so wild, because people don't.
Let's kind of get serious about that, because that's a piece of consent that I don't think people actually really respect, regardless if you're a sex worker or not. If somebody tells you who they are, then that's what you call them by. You do not abuse the situation and them and disrespect them and call them something that they have not told you to call them by. And I think that's really important in this situation, because I see that a lot. Oh yeah, she went to high school. I ain't ask you to tell all them people my business. I can do that myself. That's not your role. That's my role. If I want to do that right now. But in the meantime, are we gonna get this dance? The champagne rooms need to be popping.
Thank you.
Period. Get it popping.
Yes. And I mean, really though, it's consent. We talk about the queer and kink community a lot together, because they really have brought that to light, right? And so like, I'm non-binary, and like consent is a big part. Calling me certain names is a big part. And a lot of non-binary folks are like, how do you feel about that? Because there's so many phrases that specifically relate to being, assigned female at birth. And you have to, those affirmations for non-binary folks are really important too. I just want to point that out. Like, I feel very validated in my gender. I don't need anybody else to validate me, but that stuff wears you down. So just another thing to throw in there. Sorry, my dog's barking.
Yeah, Karen, I just put your name all together. Y'all got COVID brain. I've been doing really well today. I want to say that. Fairen, do you want to elevate some of that? Because I love going back and forth through the love languages, and then knowing that affirmations make us feel good. It even when we apply them to our bodies, and a lot about who people call us and what we are that can affect a lot of that too. I'm sure you have.
So that goes into that piece of the language towards oneself, right? If someone has said to you, this is what I would like for you to refer to me as, you don't get the option to refer to them as anything else other than that, right? And we even do that at the level of with students. If there's a student or a child in general, and the child says, I would like to be called whatever they would like to be called, what is it harming anyone to respect that wish? It's not going to harm anyone if you are just saying, if someone is saying to you, can you please refer to me as this, or can you please use this pronoun when referencing me? It's not hurting you, it's not harming you for you to respect that, right? Because at the bare minimum of it, it is just you being a decent human being and saying that I respect you enough to refer to you as you have asked. NeNe had mentioned a little bit of that, of these people are humans. This is a human being that you are referring to. This is a human being that you are interacting with. So if you don't want someone to interact with you in this way, then you don't need to interact with anybody else in that way. You should never put your hands on someone without consent. V, thank you for mentioning that, right? Because I guess that would be like, people would do that, right? They're just in their heads, they're thinking that if this is the work that you do, then I have full access to you. And that is never okay. It is never okay to assume that you have any type of access to anyone else's body.
And it's not just strangers. Like, if somebody that I know for a while, you could tell them that, and they'll like put their hands on me or ask me really inappropriate questions. And I'm just like, we're not talking about that. Like, that's not okay. And I just disclosed something very personal. So how about we just respect that, and move on, and just be very mindful about asking, can we talk about this? Do you feel comfortable opening space about this? Because it's not legal to begin with. It's not decriminalized, and that makes it really hard for us to be open about it and feel safe. Like, I don't feel safe in, let's say, a lot of people in their apartments don't feel safe, because once people find out, that's really scary. It's really dangerous for a lot of people, or like families. There's some really interesting people with a lot of interesting views, and they're in our families. But what's really funny is NeNe said this is the oldest profession, right? Chanelle, you said that too, right? And like, that means that we all have at some point had ancestors and family members who have been in this work, and no one's talked about it. So we don't even know exactly how connected we are to that. That's lost on us because of stigma. And I feel like, there's healing in this work. And I know for sure in my family, we have healers, and people didn't want to talk about that, So just wanted to throw that out there. There's so much connection there.
There are so many people who have probably been recipients or beneficiaries of sex work on governmental, monumental levels, right? Like, again, it is the oldest profession. There are people who are probably currently right now receiving a service from a sex worker and potentially watching this training as it's right. You see what I'm saying? Like, that is how embedded sex work is in everything that is done.
I absolutely love this part of the conversation. Y'all know that's that history geographer in me. We want to carry this on. Let's do that at a later date. Everybody sign up. Make sure you visit. No, subscribe, like and subscribe. I've always wanted to say that. But yes, this is a very central part of this conversation that, keeps getting pushed around. We just always say it, it's the oldest profession in time, but people are not really understanding what that actually meant. The biggest piece that I wanted to bring up was this infatuation with the English monarchy is pure ridiculous, but is a part of like what it looks like for sex work to grow into something huge, right? Empires are not only built on scavenging and colonization, which they are, but a large part of that is the sexualization of power. And so what we're not talking about a lot of times when people are wanting to call folks sex workers, like you strip or you do this and $40, is that there is this power play around sex and sexualization. In one sense, you see the monarchy, and I know like a lot of these different entities that I'm talking about have done some other things, so I'm going to be very specific so we don't have to go there. But you have the monarchy where they are making sure that they can find the youngest bride, or they can find the most tidiest bride. And when I say tidy, somebody who's built in a certain type of way to carry a certain piece of gene on, regardless of what the prince may look like or whomever that person has to marry, to keep up this foundation of wealth, to keep up this empire. And then we're also looking at the Vatican, and that's a religious background. Hold on one second. This religious background piece where we've abused sexualization into a way where we're going to call it no for you, oh, you're a prostitute, let's shame Mary Magdalene and just make sure that she just did whatever was on a whim that Jesus named, right? She washed his feet. Okay, that's what she should have did because she's a hoe. No, that's an abuse of power when you're naming that somebody should just go ahead and do something just because they have a minimalization of what you think their skill set should be. And so the entire Vatican is built an empire, it's a religion, it's a religious state around the abuse of young children and the abuse of women who have partaken into sex work. So prostitution, they've taken advantage of both of those two, implying power over innocence and then implying power over women, specifically in Catholicism. So that stuff goes a long way, and it helps to build up both spaces, right? We have sex working where, it's hyper criminalized, and then we have sex trafficking where, in my opinion, and I'm talking personally here, I'm not trying to give any background to it in this moment, I'm really concerned about how lenient we are around that criminalization, which is why I believe in abolition. I believe there's another system that we can create that can adhere to like what we're seeing in sex trafficking, because we've created too many entities to try to fight it. And those entities are spending so much money that we're still at this thing like, these folks don't even have anything to eat, but we're willing to make a whole new venture into like finding folks and how we find folks and singling folks out to only do that type of work. So it's growing weird on me, but do we want to dive in, Karen? Karen, I did it again. Fairen. V, I'm gonna call you Z. Bajirist.
Cancel Clarice. We about to.
This is the thing. So whenever I tell people my name, I'll usually say Fairen. It's like Aaron with an F, and then or like Karen, but replace the K with an F. Did you want me to speak to the decriminalization?
Yeah, I think just moving into like that conversation, Art had brought it up, like what is the difference? And I think a lot of times people still want to hold on there that like they're the same, but they are not.
Between sex work and sex trafficking? Yes. One of the biggest differences is one is completely consensual and the other is not, right? And we mentioned that sex trafficking is literally sexual slavery. That is kidnapping, that is torturing, that is forced labor. That's not a choice. There's no choice within sex trafficking. And so I think that because the idea of sex is still in there, that makes people think that it's the same thing, and it's completely not. If I'm choosing to partake in sex work in a way that may be an exchange of my time or my money, or my time or my body for money or for someone else's time, or whatever that exchange may be, that is a choice that I've made. That is me consenting to that aspect, and that is me allowing whoever I'm consenting with, that they are then asking me for consent and asking me for permission as well. That is not what sex trafficking is. Sex trafficking is a forced labor. And with that, what you're doing with that in that sense is you are stripping someone of their ability to feel loved within themselves, and you're stripping them of their ability to feel safe. That's what sex trafficking is taking from people, where sex work is an exchange and a giving, and V, obviously that is something that you can speak more to, but sex work itself, that is consensual, that is give and take, that is permission based. That is not a forced labor.
I wanted to thank you for bringing that up. The forced labor, the power play, that is very important because it is about power. It's about taking power. It's about making sure other people do not have power. And in sex work, consensual, voluntary sex work, what's really interesting is even though we know we are in control, there's coercion. And that's the dangers is when we start criminalizing sex work, the coercion gets stronger. And people feel scared and unsafe and have to really just kind of figure out how to navigate an industry that you're not taught to navigate. It's one thing to be self-employed and you're like, what do I do? Nobody gave me a manual for this. And then nobody really gives you a manual for this, and NeNe said it too really well. This community that I am a part of with sex workers, I've never felt more accepted. I've never felt more seen, more heard. It is the most wonderful thing to feel so embraced and feel like you belong. And a lot of times it's really nice to be able to share that information, that collective knowledge that we experience, because there's so many possibilities of what we experience and how we navigate. And we learn things, we learn how we can continue doing certain things. Like somebody said, I do a lot of other sex work. And so camming is a big part of sex work. And someone said, I really don't want to do this thing. And I was like, okay, just take it off your menu. And they're like, wait, what? And I was like, listen, one day I just didn't have the energy to do something on my menu. So I just took it off the fucking menu. Sorry. Really though, it's just a matter of you said it yourself. This is not comparison. This is not competition. Capitalism is not necessary for us to thrive. And so when we talk about decriminalization, what we're talking about is how can people use these, skill sets, use something that makes them happy, and make people feel safe to be able to explore things with them, make people feel like they are seen or they're loved or heard. I just provide healing space for a lot of people. And even when I do more like of my online work, I am very much myself. I'm very much, this is me, this is what I do. I'm open about what I do. And I feel that being you is a big part of that. Owning yourself is a big part of that because nobody else can replicate it. When OnlyFans came out, a lot of people were like, you charge too much, or this one charges less than you. And I'm like, you can charge whatever the hell you want. Don't shame if you're doing like 10 a month. Don't shame if you're doing 100 a month. I don't care. What are you willing to accept? What you give is really important because people will see that matters to you and they will support you no matter what. And we don't need people to be comparing us, especially men, especially cis men, to be comparing us and using these tools to exploit us and manipulate us, because a lot of times it is cis men. And it is people who want money more than they care about, the healing work of this. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting and very complex conversation that we definitely can have if anyone wants to have it at a different time. But I genuinely love that the community has been very open. And I genuinely love that, like, in 2022, though, in the city, it's very there's still a lot to go. There's still a lot to learn. The culture is still very weird about how we are not like a tangible thing to appreciate sometimes in the healing work aspect. Some people just want to talk. They will talk for half an hour. Like, that's just like what it is. Or just want to, be able to experience something with someone, not alone, and not feel like, some people just are not very accepting, and sex workers are probably one of the most accepting people, least judgment. It's just a nice community. And once we start decriminalizing that, I think we're going to see a lot more people feeling comfortable to just embrace their bodies, their sex, and being able to not feel weird to be like, oh, we're talking about sex, like really whispering. They're still whispering things like that. And why are we feeling that sex is as dangerous as like racism? You know what I mean? Like, why are we being deplatformed for things that are natural to our bodies on a daily basis, accessible to us on a daily basis? And like that's being compared to like gun violence and anti-Semitism on, platforms, and they'll just like use that as one of those keywords to shun you and shut you down. And I just find that intense that we've correlated the two. So anyway, sorry, talking my head off, but also I did want to know the clarification on abolition that Chanelle mentioned was to the prison industrial complex and not the abolition of sex work, because there are abolitionists towards sex work specifically. So in terms of language.
Honey, here, and I'm glad that you clarify that, because yes, I do not mean the abolition of sex work. I am thankful for the end part of that conversation where you were talking about both of you guys around the different types of sex work. And I'm glad Kabira posted that up there too, because I think a lot of times people just, are overzealous with this and calling people hoes and all of that stuff. And, you just can't wait to go, do whatever sexualized performance that you think sex is, which is why NeNe exists, which is why Fairen exists, which is why V as their work, but also as the person, because this is them presenting their sex work to you. It is not only about intercourse. And I want to say that again, we are not only talking about intercourse or any other sexual behavior where you have to manipulate somebody's body for sexual pleasure. Sexual pleasure can come from any amount of things. There are tons of fetishes. I really wish they would stop being called fetishes. They probably are. Just not that deep into sex work, so don't get on me. Where people are just there. Lots of my body work clients just wanted to talk. Hey, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to listen, because that's exactly what that might make them feel better. If you have to think about the pleasure that people are feeling when they are entering a space where they are seen, where they are heard, where they are appreciated, and not so much in the fact that I might not know Sam from Adam, but I'm there listening to that. I also don't want them to go do anything outrageous anywhere else. So I think that's also something. I'm glad that you mentioned how the hate crimes have taken place, and people are associating with that. So last year we saw where traditional sex workers, and sometimes, which is also coerced sex work, with the Asian spa that got shot up. This guy is upset about COVID, and then we continue to keep taking things out on Asians because of this story of where COVID began, and kills these sex workers because he knew where they were going to be at. When people do mass shootings, they do them in a way that's either passionate to them, or they're making sure that they're going to take out as many people as possible, and went to a massage parlor. And in that space of those massage parlors, I don't think anybody has ever stepped foot in one, which is another challenge. Take yourself into a public or legal sex place so that you can understand exactly what is taking place there. Those spas are filled with all different types of holistic things to make sure that you are comfortable and that you receive pleasure in the way that you want to receive pleasure. A massage, sometimes there's pedicures, manicures. There's all different types of things that are there, but specifically for sexual pleasure as well. So that was something I really wanted to bring up, because we continue to keep demonizing. I understand, we call it hate and shame, but folks really do demonize people who perform sex work, and it's just not okay.
And I wanted to mention a lot of that has to do with this Puritan patriarchal society that we actually do live in, right? Where white supremacy runs supreme, and we demonize these things because patriarchal people aren't in a position to get power from that. Right? If you are a consensual sex worker, which I do hope that everyone who participates in sex work, that your work is able to be consensual and you are able to have people ask you for permission. But within that, there are people who are in positions of power and they can't take that power from you, right? So then they're going to do everything they can to create all of these barriers and all of these systems around this freedom work that you're doing, in order to put you in a position to no longer be able to do that, because they can't gain anything from it. They're not receiving anything from it. So I did want to mention that that's why sex work tends to be demonized so much, is patriarchy.
I'm trying to post it. What did you call it? What type of patriarchy? Did you say Christian or what?
Puritan.
Puritan, yes.
Puritan patriarchy. And then you had mentioned some people just want to talk. intimacy is such an important aspect within sex and sex work, and intimacy looks very different for everybody. I mentioned earlier about how you can be intimate with yourself, but then like intimacy with another person, sometimes people really do just want someone to sit with them, to talk to them. And I think because the word sex is in there, everyone excuse me, everyone assumes that it has to be this physical interaction, and that's not even what sex is. Sex is not always just physical.
Yes, it's so nice to like to have that intimacy, and I think people just don't know how to be vulnerable or don't feel safe to be vulnerable wherever they are right now. Don't feel connected, especially when I cater to a lot of cis men. So, cis men especially, they have it really hard on themselves to not be able to access their feelings and their emotions, to understand their connection to themselves, their energy, and nature. This is all part of like who we are, our innate nature, to be able to sensate, to feel our sensuality, to like I'm really big about sensuality. So like it's interesting because I love that part. And I do. And I love like being able to see people come through and come out of themselves and that like suppressed part of themselves, because that has to do with patriarchy, that has to do with supremacy. Because we did have a moment where people colonized specific parts of the world, East Asia, Africa, and those parts of the world is a lot of times those are where we have a connection to nature. Their Eastern philosophy is huge when it comes to connection to nature. And those philosophies were taken and they were colonized, they were destroyed, reanalyzed. White men put their name on it and said, hey, we understand these things, but they never actually practiced it, and that's really where my favorite part is. Like, that's a whole philosophy conversation, but I just find it interesting. Like, we are so disconnected, and yet our biggest joy is like sensation, like eating. Like, you're gonna hear me make the same noises when I eat as I do when I work. Like, I'll be moaning, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's true. And it's funny because like people just, I feel like they feel scared to laugh and to moan and to enjoy. And that's a big part of it. All those senses that Kabira mentioned, that's a big part of like everyday living for me. And I really enjoy the intimacy for that. Like if you see me eat chicken wings or crab legs in front of you, we're really intimate. I'm sorry. Like, it's true. That's close for me. Like, and yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. Yes, we did. Oh my gosh, Fairen and I met in a philosophy class, one of my favorites. Yeah, I think that's awesome that you wrote that. I did want to I don't know if we mentioned the privilege conversation about the differentiation between sex workers, and how we use this to be able to market, right, and to be able to reach out to people who want to have that specific type of service. But when civilians, and those are people who are non-sex workers, use different terms, typically there's a lot of shame surrounding it. So the difference between online sex workers, pornographers, right, and then you have cam models, you have sugar babies, which is a whole other thing, and then you also have escorts and street workers. So there's like a huge spectrum of sex work, and a lot of times people have privilege. And when we talk about it among sex workers, it's about privilege, about knowing that I have shelter and I have the ability to make decisions that are easier on me, whereas I don't have a harder life to be able to, really need the work. And so I do have a privilege among street workers, and I really make sure to talk about that, because people like to say high-end escort, and that is like, please don't, please don't, because that shouldn't change my value as a human being to other folks. You know what I mean? And I think cam models and OnlyFans, there's a lot of differentiation, and it's always surrounding shame. So just making sure that we are really talking about sex workers as a whole and being very inclusive about that. Anyway, sorry.
No, you are absolutely fine, because yes, let's go into that. I know people saw the OnlyFans on the flyer, and that was there on purpose, because that is a real piece of where a lot of decriminalization needs to take place, so that we aren't surveillance as heavy as that. But like V has brought this up several times, online platforms get their popularity in part due to sex workers. Cash App, Craigslist, OnlyFans, Venmo, several other places so that they can easily transfer funds. So again, as Fairen said, when we're talking about governmental practices, we're also talking about how this economy is being ran and how it's being pushed. What our lawmakers think is that people are moving money without paying for the money. You do realize taxes is about paying for the money. And that just comes into play around so many other things. But I love, 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 love. And if you see in our monthly link tree, we've got that amplification of Cardi B creating a very much judge-free platform to where sex workers can be themselves and do what they need to, and whomever that sex worker is. So I want to name, like, of course, we see some top names. NeNe talks about porn stars, but there's also other folks who partake in sex work that want to be able to have a platform. What's the dude's name of Jackass? I can't think of his name. The little, I was gonna say the weird looking one, but yeah, weird looking. He was doing some sex work as well and complained about not having the platform to be able to do what it is that you need to do. I don't think a lot of times people understand that if a sex worker has to utilize another business to handle their business, they are a business. That's a business transaction. So you go from handling your business, which is your person and what you're going to offer as a professional, yes, but as a persona and as well as a performance. And now if you have to go into a platform, you have to go into an area, you have to go into a space, you then have to enter in a business contract with those folks. And there is tons of pushback. There is tons of stigma. And there's also where you get fucked over a lot. I'm just going to say it plain as day. A lot of those strip club dancers, like, yes, tip them as much as possible. We joke a lot about the champagne room and these dances. And while I love people who, own strip clubs, don't pay for that shit, because the house takes a lot of that money, where they know that they are still making money. So they want to make money as well off of the persona, off of the performance of this sex worker, and not without consent. So there's been many times that I've been at work when I was a dancer and I go up and I have no money at the end of the night. I'm like, what you mean I got no money at the end of the night? You know what I'm saying? We did not enter into a contract that you felt like you could go past whatever amount to take that amount and then keep it. So you hear about a lot of violence, and this comes into play with a lot of other things. See how things get cyclical around what takes place in the strip club, or we've watched the Popular Player Club, and yes, some of those really, I'll say working class strip clubs will have like some guy who's there or some persona that's there acting as a pimp over the people who are dancing there. And that absolutely does happen, because folks sometimes in sex work, if they are not appreciative or they don't have enough esteem, feel like they have to perform in this place to get by. And that is the only place that they can do that at. I've seen that a lot in some of these jokerish strip clubs around the city. And it's heartbreaking. Did anybody have any input on that? I felt like you all mentioned it a few times.
Pay sex workers what they're worth and quit taking their money.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do anything for their money. You didn't do nothing. If they, like, I get, like a booth fee or like a rent fee. I understand that aspect of things. But there are a lot of times where sex workers are just being exploited completely by especially if they do work in a place such as a strip club or they're called gentlemen's club, but I don't really like that term. But in a facility, right? If they're no longer strictly self-employed, then they are then being taken advantage of by their employers. And it is such a horrendous degree of exploitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we'll see these images of sex workers and they have like all of this money everywhere. And like, but the thing is, they probably had 3 times that amount had they not had to pay out as much as they had to pay out.
Isn't it interesting how like you want low security and then you end up losing some in the process? Like that is all it's about, is security and consent. We want security and we have consent. And why is it so hard for us? Why does it have to be like that? Why does everything have to feel like it's impossible to do? And also, there are people who just feel like there's like an anger towards us because we live freely, right? But like to be able to do that in the society that we live in currently, where it's like literally fighting against the storm, to be able to love yourself, to be able to touch yourself, you know, to allow for consensual safe spaces for sex, like that is that really too wild? You know, it always kills me that that is too radical for this world. So thank you for speaking on that, because that is so important.
Okay, we are running close to time where we're getting ready to end. Kabira, do you have anything? Because I was just going to go into updates.
I don't have anything but to add on to see, and that's why I typed that sacred energetic exchange, like, because things that you do that feel good to yourself should be sacred, right? And anything that we are energetic beings. So we are constantly putting out our energy. So try to look at that word sex differently. Look at it as something that is sacred, that either you're exchanging with another person that is not per se intercourse, like we have been talking about. It doesn't even have to involve the sexual organs. And then also to talk about, that exploitation in the clubs. I've been in many clubs where, you see these amazing pictures of money all on the floor, but that's just from being picked up. That's not even what you have to pay to house. Not only what Chanelle was talking about, the champagne room, do they take a percentage, but you also have to pay the house at the end of the night. You also have to pay your house mom, if you have a house mom, which is the one that takes care of the back dressing room, making sure you got your smell good, making sure you got bobby pin, whatever you might have lost. That's what a house mom is. And then you got to pay your DJ. Then you got to pay your bouncer of the club. Like, so there's so many different payouts on top of a percentage of those private dances that get taken from you. And I will tell anybody in a heartbeat, do you a Snapchat premium. Be in control of your own money. Create you another Snapchat, because you can also see when they screenshot, when they screen record, whatever, and get your money yourself. If that's the route you're going to do, be the third person. Be the first, the second, and the third person. I just want to give honor to both of you all. Thank you for giving us your energy and giving us that sacred energetic exchange today. I'm extremely grateful for you all. And I'm going to let Chanelle go into updates. And then we're going to go into just a slight movement, just to move our bodies and love ourselves and wrap up this whole training today.
Thank you. So I'm going to be posting some links. This video is out there. The folks on here will have this video and they'll be able to push it into their spaces as well. So we want to make sure that everybody has this education, and let's just build up off of it. You know what I'm saying? Because this is very important. Any type of way that we can decarcerate means decarceration for all. Like, it's a real thing. It can happen. The first update I want to give you is that, yes, abortion is being attacked. I'm trying to really bring to the forefront of what we're talking about. Again, consent. We are talking about people fighting folks, and it's a historic around abortion and people who perform abortions. There's a lot of violence in that. And in this is violence against people who are pregnant and want to terminate that pregnancy. That is up to them. That is a reproductive injustice when you get in the way of that. And so Kentucky is one of those states that has consistently tried over and over again to harm people who want to give birth and who don't want to give birth, who get pregnant. And around how and where they access the need to get the information for an abortion. So we have those intrusive laws where you have to be forced to watch. You got to be forced to learn about these things. But this year we have abortion on the ballot. There will be information in the ending video with some in the beginning video, and I'm going to share a few links of places where you need to go join. If in 2020 people were like, join an organization around the work that you want to do and get that work done, this is the time as well to find an organization or to find a path around what it means to have an abortion and what it means to support people who have an abortion, and do that now. We have until November to try to defeat this. All we can do is get folks to actually understand that this is one of the most abusive tactics that folks continue to use, how and when people want to get an abortion. And so I'll be sharing a few of those links. We'll make sure that they're put out on our platform as well, and we'll have a whole session around it. We are also a part of a table called Protect Kentucky Access. It's a statewide table with statewide organizations who are lifting up sexual and reproductive health care, but also what it means to have access to abortion. So please get active. Your organization sign on, you as an individual sign on. We really just need the bodies to be out there to get it to our folks, to let folks know beforehand. Look, they are trying to take this right away, a natural right. We also want folks to pay attention. Right now, it's hard. We know that there's tons of things going on. COVID, wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. Please wear your mask in a pandemic, pandemic.
The
I
panorama,
love him because
the
he
panini.
gets the patriotic. Just wear your mask and stop being nasty. Stop being nasty. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. You know he felt that. And it's probably because he got COVID. Now, if you've ever had COVID and got sick, please stop playing with yourself. I just want to say that. I'm not going to say that everybody plays that got COVID, but please take care of yourself first, because there's a lot of people out here who do not. And that is a reproductive injustice. If you cannot raise your children, if you cannot live, if you cannot go to the store, get goods and services, go to work without getting sick from somebody else, that is an issue. So make sure you're taking the best precautions as you can. Get you some hand sanitizer. You don't see any hand sanitizer, grab you some aloe vera or some other type of gel, body ointment, and some alcohol. Put that together. Get you some essential oil, make it smell good. That's always cute. And keep it on you. It's going to make you smell nice. It's going to make you moisturize. Fairen said, please put the moisturization on the body in the winter time, please. Let's do that. And be careful where you touch, because a lot of people, you know, they just be all in the faces and stuff and touching all over the things. If you are susceptible of getting sick, put something over your eyes as well. They have those clear shields. I know we all walking around looking like surgeons and stuff, but please take care of yourself, because yes, you never know how your body is going to react. And we are still trying to figure out how certain people get sicker than other folks. And that might be you. Some people don't have symptoms, and that might be you. So please get tested. We have a COVID care clinic, and we're working with a clinic now to provide 7 days a week COVID testing. We're going to look at what vaccinations look like, because that's what people want, and that's what they notated, and anything else that folks want. We also have vitamins and other medications available. They are not for sale. We are not selling things. Got to tell the government that they always want to regulate something. And then we also are having Let's Talk About Sex convening. This is the National Reproductive Justice convening in the nation, specifically talking about reproductive justice and sexual health. So please, please, please look out for that. When that gets ready, we will continue to advertise that until Sister Song has that link ready. Especially if you want to present, you can email me at Chanelle@sistersong.net, and I'll be sure to get you put over there on the list with the people who plan that out. It has been so heartwarming. If you go to Sister Song, you'll be able to see the pictures from the past, some familiar faces, and some people that you probably was just like, I didn't know you was down like that. But yes, the last update I want to name is that there are organizations who are fighting to decriminalize sex work. And please jump into that. That education is on our link tree. That is linktr.ee/capital, you know, all that stuff is case sensitive, capital BLMLRJ. And in there, you'll have the links to Fairen's page, Love Thy Belly, V's page, Cup of V, as well as the ACLU's language around what it means to decriminalize sex work. So the American Civil Liberties Union is a very large component of decriminalizing sex work, as well as Amnesty. Amnesty International is an organization that looks at ways to decarcerate, but also bring fairness to everyone, regardless of race, but particularly those that are oppressed. And this is one of their pieces. I've shared some pieces from HIPS. They do a lot of mutual aid, because you know those are some things that folks need when they're performing sex work. I'm going to give a shout out to all our sex workers, especially our trans babies and our non-binary babies. It was really hard for them at the beginning of the pandemic. They have not recovered. So a lot of people are not recovering. So if you know a trans baby or a non-binary baby, I'm an older person. I'm sorry, I'm being ageist. Person, please make sure that they're okay. Make sure at least that they're getting groceries come in, because we do not want them to fall into crisis mode and thinking that they only have to be out there to perform sex work, where it is kind of dangerous with COVID going around. We also have a piece that they use. So if you're thinking about, hey, I really do want to go forward with this, I want to talk about the legislation that it's going to take either at local levels or at your state level to decriminalize sex work, it is there. You can put that together. Kentuckians, we are a commonwealth. We can develop any type of law that we want to and present that to our representative and help them make it a law and get it pushed. Who else was on there? V shared a few other people. I will make sure that they get added to that link tree so that you can see them. There's also Decrim, and they have a piece around decriminalizing sex work as well. So I definitely want you all to look at that. Speaking of ACLU, shout out to ACLU Kentucky, FemLed, just really throwing down as they always do, really highlighting all of these bad bills that are being pushed through the Kentucky legislative session right now. Please look at their page when they are amplifying reproductive justice and reproductive rights. What's happening right now? Call your representative and your senator and see what their take is on these things, especially if your representative is a Republican, because they are doing everything that they can to make sure that our interests get voted out. And I mean, femme folks, I'm talking about trans non-binary folks, but particularly people of color and Black folks and Indigenous folks. They are making sure that we do not have a voice and that we're going to have to work twice as hard to get a lot of these laws reversed, because they're just oppression in itself. So those are some things that you'll see on that link every month. Be sure to go to our Google site. It's very cookie cutter, so we love it. Don't be looking for no extra stuff. We be working, and we'll have on there everything that we've talked about. We'll listen through and highlight some of those things. So wanted to make sure you all know where to go. When those things come up, I will run these underneath here. And Fairen's about to leave us. We're about to end. It was so awesome-licious to see that. Hit up Love Day Belly, not only just for adults. You know your inner child needs it. Go ahead and get it, but your child now needs it so that you don't have to wait to do that work later. Anything you want to say, Fairen, before you go?
Thank you all so much for including the conversation about body and body image within sex work and how important that is. And I do want to remind everybody that it is so important that you pour into yourself and pour as much positive energy, positive images, positive words, and things that fulfill you. And that can include touching yourself, that can include food, anything that makes you feel good. It is important that you are pouring that into yourself and pouring that into yourself often and every day. And thank you all.
Thank you, Fairen.
Thank you, Fairen. All right. Thank you guys for being with us. We're going to end the broadcast soon. I'm going to go ahead and play those pieces for you to see. Also, look down at the bottom of the screen for the links that'll be coming up that I'm going to press. Take advantage of checking those out, and then come back to this video if you forget. It's okay. It's why we did a video. Hey, that's the only thing I'm going to thank COVID about. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Okay, waiting on Kabira to come back so we can go through the moving piece. I'm glad that y'all still with us.
That song? Okay, what is that?
Girl, that's that free stuff off of Canva. Look, let me sell Canva real quick. I was just like, the rest of these songs are ugly.
That beat.
It goes so hard.
I'm over here just like.
It was one last link. Okay, here we go. We didn't had us a dance session real quick too.
Oh shit, we're still live.
Just a moment. I have to go back and find the video, the music I was going to use.
Okay.
Just gonna keep snacking on my breakfast. I know it's not
Glad
breakfast.
that y'all still with us. Take notes of those pieces. It's the same video that we showed at the beginning of the training and towards the end. Now we're just getting ready to decompress with Goddess Bira, or what did I say? Badiris. Can't mess up V. What am I gonna say? Z?
What's here today? Listen though, I am loving that gold tear duct. Like,
Right.
I am loving it.
Thank you, Zoo.
Right?
I wanted to show y'all real quick. There's my persona, which is like all the colors of the rainbow, because I'm always showing my true self to the public. My consciousness, and then my shadow self, all them squiggly lines that the red was anger. I think the yellow was gosh, I can't remember right now. The blue is sad. So yeah, shadow work. Still doing that shadow work. All right, we are going to listen to an instrumental because we don't want to get shut down on none of the platforms.
We do not own the rights to any of the music.
And any of the music. Can y'all hear that? Okay. So if you're able to stand up for me. If you're not, that's okay. You can do this seated down too. So I want you to take some big deep breaths here, in and out. Bring it back down to a T shape. Palms forward. Deep breath in. Exhale, rotating to the left. Because everything we do, we're leading with love, leading with our heart first. Deep breath in. And out. No. Deep breath, bringing it back forward. And exhale, rotating to the right. Be your own right-hand person. Show up for yourself first. Deep breath in. And out. I want you to inhale, bringing it back forward. And on this exhale, I want you to wrap your arms around you. Because everything that we talked about today, it starts with loving ourselves first. Deep breath in. And out. I'm going to turn sideways because I want you to see how deep I want you to do this. I want you to deep breath in, bringing it back. And exhale, curling that back and bringing the arms back around. Do this 2 more times. In. And out. Give me 1 more. In. And out. Just love yourself. Give yourself thanks and gratitude for you. As always, peace, love, and light. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.